on the news. She's ready again to make a major impact during the March for Life.
She's re-energized in the fight for life and ready to march for the unborn. I'm Jessica Easthope with the Queen's parishioner who calls herself a veteran and is now getting inspired by a new pro-life generation.
Also ahead, some GOP members look to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, but some Republicans are skeptical. And expanding abortion access, the latest plan Mayor Adams has for New Yorkers and people from out of state. Plus, a parent's worst nightmare caught on camera, their car stolen out of their garage with their baby inside. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now.
This is my sign. I made it. She's been going with me, Mary, for 8 years.
She calls herself a veteran in the pro-life movement in the fight against abortion. Mary Ruane has been attending the march in Washington, D.C. for nearly a decade. This time, she's more ready than ever to fight with prayer and presence for the unborn. Currents News' Jessica Easthope caught up with her ahead of her trip down to the Capitol.
I carry a light backpack. It's blue for the Blessed Mother.
Mary Ruane has thought of everything.
A&D, ointment, Band-Aids.
She's ready to head down to D.C. on Friday and march for hours with more than 100,000 other people who believe life is sacred.
No one could really express how it makes you feel. It just makes me so happy that there's hope in the world.
Mary's attended March for Life many times over the years, but she currently has an 8-year streak going. At 81 years old, the march isn't easy for her, but she says it's worth it to show up for every single soul that's been lost to abortion.
It's our job to protect those children, not to kill them.
Mary will make the trip on a Diocese of Brooklyn bus. Joining her is Father Michael Panicali, parochial vicar at St. Helen Church in Howard Beach.
Stand up for the cause of life.
Now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned, Mary and Father Michael say the work is more important than ever and far from over. According to March for Life, there are still more than 900,000 abortions every year, and that number is only expected to decrease by about 200,000 in a post-Roe America.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it might be easy for people to assume that the abortion issue is settled, but it's far from settled.
They say it's against women, but it is in favor of women. Women don't realize they're being manipulated and exploited to believe that it's okay to kill their own child.
Mary says to march in solidarity alongside the teenagers and young adults who call themselves the pro-life generation is a gift. In 2010, it was estimated half of the marchers were under the age of 30.
I'm so proud of them. They're following and they know right from wrong.
It's beautiful to see God's work in the young people. It's just a great day to celebrate your Catholicism.
Mary plans to march for as long as she can. She says she'll stop when abortion is unthinkable. In Howard Beach, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
And there are new details about the annual event kicking off on January 20th. It's being billed as next steps coming off of the landmark victory with the Dobbs decision. The focus of the demonstration will pivot from the overturning of Roe v. Wade to restoring a culture of life across America. Some other changes during this year's march in honor of the Dobbs victory. Pro-lifers will walk past Congress, acknowledging that lawmakers now hold a critical role in this post-Roe America. And the march will end between the Capitol building and the Supreme Court, giving witness to the two branches the inherent dignity of the human person in the womb. If you'd like to attend, contact Christian Rada, the Director of Marriage, Family Formation, and Respect Life Education for the Diocese of Brooklyn. That number is 718-965-7300 with the extension 5541. Or you can email crada@diobrook.org. John Lavenberg, the national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, will be covering the march, starting the night before with the National Vigil for Life at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. He'll join us Thursday to talk about that, and again Friday for the actual march itself. That's January 19th and the 20th right here on Currents News. And you can participate in the Gift of Life and Prayer. Bishop Robert Brennan is celebrating the annual Diocesan Pro Vita Mass on Sunday, January 22nd at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James. The Mass will be held from 11 a.m. to noon. Mayor Eric Adams announced a new plan to expand abortion access in New York City on Tuesday. The New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene will open 7 medication clinics with both walk-in and scheduled appointments.
There is just this hidden secret that women have suffered silently, and they really felt that no one heard them, but I did.
The abortion services will be available to anyone, including people out of state who may not be able to access abortions locally. Mayor Adams was also set to talk about the migrant surge while attending a conference in D.C. Wednesday. He says it'll be a chance to unite the mayors of cities who are facing the brunt of that surge. Adams was to speak on his recent trip to El Paso this past weekend, where he met migrants, visited a shelter, and spoke with city leaders and border agents. Many asylum seekers from El Paso have been bussed up to Port Authority, where New York City has been scrambling to help them. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas will soon be defending his actions at the border as key committee chairmen prepare to hold hearings that could serve as a prelude to a possible impeachment inquiry. John Lawrence has that story.
Senior House Republicans are getting ready for hearings that focus on the migrant crisis at the U.S.'s southern border.
I've got a lot of work to do, and we're going to do it.
Not if some House Republicans have their way. GOP Representative Pat Fallon of Texas introduced articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, alleging he failed to enforce the country's immigration laws, also contending he lied to Congress that the border was secure.
I'll never use impeachment for political purposes. But if the person is a derelict in their duties and they're harming Americans and Americans are actually dying by the lack of their work, that could rise to that occasion.
The House Judiciary Committee is prepared to move ahead with formal proceedings if there's a consensus within the GOP, according to a source directly familiar with the matter.
Impeachment is in case of emergency break glass, and it seems as if we have taken that to a common thing. It shouldn't be a common thing. Look, the DHS Secretary Mayorkas has made a lot of mistakes, and there's clearly a lot of people upset.
Other GOP skeptics include Rep. Don Bacon, who said, quote, "I don't think independent swing voters are interested in impeachments." In a statement, a spokesperson for Mayorkas made clear he has no plans to resign.
I've got a lot of work to do. I'm proud to do it alongside 250,000 incredibly dedicated and talented individuals in the Department of Homeland Security.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The legal team for Theodore McCarrick is now questioning whether the former cardinal is fit to stand trial. The new court filing cites a neurological exam reportedly showing the cognition and memory of the 92-year-old has started to rapidly decline. As a result, McCarrick's lawyers are worried he may no longer be legally competent to stand trial. The criminal complaint alleges that the laicized cardinal sexually assaulted a teenage boy in Massachusetts in the 1970s, charges that McCarrick pleaded not guilty to in September of 2021. That was the last time he had been seen in public, where he appeared to be in frail condition, wearing a mask and hunched over in a walker. More than a dozen are dead, including Ukrainian cabinet officials, after a helicopter crash in Kyiv. In an address to the World Economic Forum on Wednesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke of the devastation.
Tragedies are outpacing life. The tyranny is outpacing the democracy.
During his address, Zelensky asked for a moment of silence to honor the victims and the lives lost in the war. The chopper went down in a residential neighborhood right near a kindergarten that had just opened for the day. And as information is still pouring in, Clarissa Ward tells us what it's like on the streets.
There are still rescue workers on the scene here. They have been combing through that building for hours now, trying to make sure that there is nobody else inside, because basically this is where the helicopter crashed. The building right behind me was clipped, then the helicopter nosedived into the playground at the back of the kindergarten. We know that all 9 people who were on board the helicopter, including this country's Interior Minister, Denise Ministersky, the Deputy Interior Minister, the Secretary of State of the Interior Ministry, as well as 6 others on board that helicopter, they were all killed immediately. Also among the dead, children and parents who were just bringing their kids to school here. I spoke to one woman who said that she didn't see the crash, she heard it, and that when she ran out towards the kindergarten, she saw children being rescued from the scene. Some of them were literally on fire because the jet fuel led to a massive blaze. And when our team arrived on the scene, saw at least 4 bodies on the ground. There's wreckage everywhere in there from the helicopter. We've seen them remove some large pieces of the chopper just in the last hour. But so far, we don't know yet what caused this. It was bad weather this morning. Another man said he was smoking a cigarette on his balcony and he couldn't even see. He could only hear the crash because the fog was so thick. But we don't yet know conclusively. Authorities here saying that they are looking into every possible potential angle. But needless to say, a truly tragic day in a country that has already experienced so much horror, so much sadness, and so much loss.
That was Clarissa Ward reporting. Ukraine is getting a boost in military might from the U.S. The Pentagon is taking from its stockpile of ammunition stored in Israel and sending it to the war-torn country. Ukraine is in desperate need of artillery shells, firepower that is driving the war between Russia and Ukraine. Experts say whichever country runs out of ammunition first will likely lose the war. Pope Francis is sending spiritual support to the people of Ukraine. During his general audience Wednesday, he prayed for the victims of another recent attack, the missile strike on an apartment building in the city of Dnipro.
Faccio mio il dolore straziante dei familiari. Le immagini e le testimonianze di questo tragico episodio sono un forte appello a tutte le coscienze. Non si può rimanere indifferenti.
That attack happened on Saturday, killing 45 people, including children. That count is expected to grow as authorities now confirm there is no more hope of finding survivors. Prayers are also going out for the repose of the soul of the world's oldest person, who also happened to be the world's oldest nun. Sister Andre, a daughter of charity, passed away on Tuesday at the age of 118 years old. This is video of her last year at the nursing home where she lived in southern France. Sister Andre dedicated her life to religious service. She was a Catholic convert who was born in 1904. Now think about that. That was 10 years before World War I and months before New York City opened its very first subway line. She lived through 10 pontificates, the Spanish flu, and survived COVID-19. What a life lived. There's a lot more news headed your way. Pregnancy concerns, why doctors are worried about women who contract COVID-19 while expecting. A parent's worst nightmare, a thief steals a family's car with their 1-year-old strapped inside. Plus, new data shows that your dollar may go further the next time you go food shopping. An absolutely terrifying ordeal for any parent. A car stolen with a baby inside. The thief stole the car right out of an Ohio family's garage with a 1-year-old inside of it. It happened as the mother went to put her 4-year-old in the car. Thankfully, the car was found 10 minutes away with the baby safely inside. The parents were understandably upset. The father did speak out, but was afraid to share his name or face in fear of this happening all over again.
It was mind-boggling. As I couldn't control myself. I was just thinking they're gonna kill my baby. God is really our side today. And we thank God for this. Without God, this wouldn't be possible today.
Police are still looking for the suspect. They believe it's a teenager who left in a gray Honda Accord. For businesses and families, inflation is still weighing heavily on how people spend. But as Karen Kaifa tells us, some relief may be in sight, at least when you go to the grocery store.
A better-than-expected reading of a key government index may be another indicator inflation relief is on the way. The U.S. Producer Price Index, or PPI, declined 0.5% last month compared to November, more than economists expected. And PPI, which measures the prices that sellers pay for goods and services before they reach consumers, is often seen as a solid predictor of where inflation is headed. Food prices declined 1.2%, the biggest monthly dip in 2 years. It's not enough to put a major dent in grocery bills just yet, but perhaps a sign inflation is turning a corner. And although prices for items like fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, grains, and cooking oils have soared in the last 12 months, those increases dialed back between November and December. Of course, other variables can impact food production, like the U.S. avian flu outbreak that has kept egg prices climbing, and recent storms in California that could wreak havoc with U.S. produce supply.
Destruction of crops is going to act as a supply side shock. So that means that we're going to have a harder time sourcing these fruits and vegetables domestically.
But recent reports show overall price inflation moving in the right direction. Down. The December Consumer Price Index, CPI, pointed to an overall drop month to month for the prices paid by consumers for the first time in nearly 3 years. In Washington, Karen Katha, Currents News.
Another cancer has been added to the long list of illnesses 9/11 first responders and others should be on the lookout for. Uterine cancer is now considered a World Trade Center related health condition, and treatment for it will be covered by the World Trade Center Health Program. Women make up a small percentage of 9/11 first responders, but many either lived near Ground Zero or helped in recovery efforts. Another warning for pregnant women about the dangers of getting COVID-19. A new study shows they're at an increased risk of being admitted to the ICU or even dying from the virus. Here's Mandy Gaither with what women can do to protect themselves and their baby.
New evidence that getting COVID-19 during pregnancy can have devastating effects.
This was a very large study, about 13,000 pregnant women, 12 countries, 12 studies all put together that they reviewed.
The research found that the pregnant people studied who got COVID-19 were nearly 4 times more likely to be admitted to an ICU, at 15 times greater risk of getting put on a ventilator, and 7 times more likely to die compared to those who were pregnant and not infected. There was also an increased risk of conditions like preeclampsia, hypertensive disorders, and blood clotting. Researchers found dangers for babies, too.
There was an increased risk of preterm birth, low birth weight, and getting admitted to a neonatal ICU.
Health experts say getting vaccinated is the best way to protect those pregnant and their babies. Right now, about 72% of pregnant people in the U.S. received their first series. Only about 19% have gotten an updated booster.
The CDC, the American College of OBGYN, Society of Maternal Fetal Medicine all support the safety and the benefits of getting vaccinated during pregnancy at any point, getting your booster if you're eligible, and also if you're conceiving or planning on getting pregnant.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
The sainthood cause of Father Vincent Capodanno is moving forward. A 3-member historical commission is being appointed to help address concerns for the Navy chaplain's canonization cause. Father Capodanno ministered to wounded Marines during the Vietnam War, and last summer, theological consultants recommended suspending his sainthood cause, citing concerns like whether venerating someone from the military might be inappropriate while wars persist in the world. That story first broke by the Tablet newspaper, and they got this exclusive update in this week's paper. Learn more about how Father Capodanno's guild is fighting for the Navy chaplain and the meeting in Rome that convinced the Vatican to move forward. Also in the paper, a sneak preview of a new book written by the Tablet's editor emeritus, Ed Wilkinson. The book out now, called Chasing Church News, features 5 decades worth of photos that Ed took on the front lines, showing major figures in Catholic history like Mother Teresa and everyday Catholics throughout Brooklyn and Queens celebrating their faith. You can purchase a signed copy of Ed's book at a select number of events happening around the Diocese of Brooklyn. The kickoff will happen on Sunday, January 29th at Our Lady of Angels Church in Bay Ridge, right after the 9 a.m. Mass. After that, there are 2 other signings scheduled, one on Sunday, February 5th at St. Andrew the Apostle Church in Bay Ridge, and the other Sunday, February 12th at the Church of St. Mel in Flushing. A bunch of other signings will also be scheduled, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Like the stories you heard, want to support Catholic journalism? Well, now you can do more than just subscribe to the Tablet newspaper. You can become an active participant in the Tablet's mission. For just $50, you'll not only get the paper sent straight to your mailbox, you can also gift a subscription to a friend, plus get access to the Tablet's online content and a quarterly newsletter, and get a commemorative drawstring bag and pin. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. For $100, you'll become a sponsor, getting everything we just mentioned, plus a Tablet baseball cap, and be a part of the recognition listing on the paper's website. Spend $250 and you become a patron. And among the things added to your list of perks are 4 tickets to Tablet Appreciation Night at the Cyclone Stadium and free VIP access to certain diocesan events. For $500, you will become a benefactor of the Tablet, and you'll also get a signed copy of Ed's book and an invitation to the annual Catholic Communications Mass and Reception. And for a whopping $1,000, you will become a founder, where you will get an invitation to the annual Editors Roundtable reception. To see the full list of membership levels and the benefits of each, just go to thetablet.org/become-a-member. And a note for all you current Tablet subscribers, you can upgrade your subscription to get any of these memberships if you want to. And still to come on Currents News, speaking of the Tablet, we'll speak with the winners of this year's art contest. Plus, helping those who can't help themselves, the specialists working around the clock to help animals hurt during the California flooding disaster. We can finally put a face to the beautiful works of art that won the Tablet's Keep Christ in Christmas art contest. On Tuesday, winners from 1st through 12th grade gathered at the Archbishop John Hughes Council of the Knights of Columbus for an award ceremony. The young Picassos were given cash prizes and certificates, proudly proclaiming their wins. The students were excited to showcase their efforts.
My inspiration for this, so the theme was Keep Christ in Christmas. So I drew Santa's sleigh because that's like Christmas, and then I drew Jesus. My art teacher told me to do it this way, and I also like the style of it.
To see all of the winning submissions, just head on over to thetablet.org. Calling all composers, if you like to express your creativity through music, we've got a contest for you too, and it has to do with the Eucharistic revival. The USCCB is looking for hymns and a theme song for the 2024 National Eucharistic Congress. That's the culmination of a 3-year campaign focusing on Jesus' real presence in the Eucharist. So they're looking for Catholics to write songs that focus on the Eucharist. If you want to express your faith through song, you can get more information on how to enter the contest at eucharisticcongress.org/musical competition. Submissions are being accepted through April 21st. The storms may have passed, but people in California don't have time to relax. That's because animals like this pocket gopher need help. A variety of animals of all shapes and sizes have been injured in various ways from the flooding. Not surprisingly, one wildlife hospital manager expects centers along the coast will continue to see injured animals.
There has been reports of an influx in other areas due to the storms, but in our general area, we're keeping our fingers crossed that everything remains the way it has been going. But if something changes, we are fully prepared for the worst.
The Animal Center did say that wherever you're located, if you come across an animal that's hurt, it's best to call your local wildlife center right away to find out what to do. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.